Okay, Nick Dutch again, how's it going? Alright, now, another thing which is said to me is you don't actually believe that, or you don't actually believe that, do you? To which I would have to say, what on earth are you talking about? Often these are people who will have jumped to conclusions about what I do, who I am, what I believe, and even to say that, no, you've got beliefs. Well, basically, no, I haven't. Some people approach me and say things like, you're just involved with silly things. Well, what is silly about working out how your own mind works? What is silly about working out how your own life works? What is silly about deliberately going through experiences so you can understand yourself as a human being much better, so that you can be calmer, more philosophical, more hard-working, have maybe more energy, and to do yourself physically and psychologically some good? What is wrong with that? The problem with humanity is that humanity assumes that a person who chooses to call themselves a magician is someone who has taken a dramatic leap of faith that everything that has been mentioned in, let's say, a Harry Potter film is the gospel truth. Well, no, we can't actually say that. Another thing that people jump to the conclusion is that I somehow ascribe to the belief system of a particular religion, be it new, old, or allegedly old, or whatever. To which the answer is, again, well, basically, no. Although I've been in a couple of witchcraft covens, I chose to leave them, and I chose to leave them for a very good reason. And that is because there was too much either political or religious indoctrination there. There was no scientific methodology. There was an awful lot of deliberately making people afraid of things which haven't actually been proven to exist. There was an awful lot of attempts to hide various techniques away from the neophyte, the newcomer. And all that's basically a load of rubbish. A complete and utter load of rubbish. I would say that what I do believe is with experience, with practice, with using prayerful and meditative techniques, with using the techniques of ritual, for instance, I can gain some strange experiences which do at times seem to have an effect on the outside world. I would say that under some circumstances I could create a properly testable ritual which could have a very properly testable result. And that would take an awful lot of time, energy, money and preparation, and I don't have time, energy or money. So I'd have to find some rich person who wants to invest some time to be able to do these things. So if you're a multi-millionaire and you want to have proof of the supernatural, I'll be more than happy to arrange for you, under circumstances which I will explain, a direct proof of there being the existence of something of a supernatural or occult nature for you. That's not something I can normally afford to achieve. Now, if we just think closely about people's motivation to be involved with magic. Okay, I've already mentioned in a previous video that I got involved because I actually wanted to try and find a cure for a disease that I had, which unfortunately I did not do through the supernatural, but the medical sciences eventually caught up. What other reasons do people do? Well, some people actually have an unbalanced mind, and they feel it's important to try and get power over other people. Some people want to set up a new religion, because they think that all the other religions are twisted. Some people have come to the conclusion that the cannabis plant is the tree of life, or the tree of wisdom, or something along those lines. There's an awful lot of strange people out there, and there's also a lot of people who need some kind of direction, and therefore look for direction in either the religious or the supernatural and the occult worlds. So that's actually a sad indictment, and I'm fortunately not one of those people. Alright, I want to find out how things work. I want to find out, I mean, if someone was to give me a watch when I was a child, I'd take the back off because I wanted to find out how it works. I had strange supernatural experiences when I was young, and I wanted to find out how they worked, and I wanted to work out why I was having them. Alright, and I feel like through my journey I've now answered some of those questions. But I don't want to take over the world. I don't want to have complete and utter power over individuals. I don't want to manipulate people. I don't want to kill people with psychic power. I don't believe that even if I could, it would be right to. And no, I don't believe I'm Harry Potter. Alright? Yeah, I do play about with the Ouija board and the pendulum and dowsing and tarot cards and runestones. Yeah. Does that necessarily mean to say that I believe that there are guides that are controlling the movement of the pendulum or the runestones? Well, maybe there is a part of my own mind which is affecting the movement of the runestones or the tarot cards or the pendulum or the planchette on the Ouija board. That would make a lot of sense, and that would be rational and scientific for me to think that. However, occasionally we get experiences which would suggest there's something else involved. But we can't jump to the conclusion that yes, it was a spirit of someone who died on this land a certain number of days, weeks, months or years or decades or centuries ago. We cannot jump to the conclusion that it definitely is my spirit guide. There's all kinds of things we can't do. Yes, I have had what you call psychic vision, which is a variety of hallucination. And I mentioned in a previous video that at times hallucination can be seen as perception, but you've got to be able to work out what is useful information and what is not useful information. So even if I did get a visitation from the Archangel Gabriel, I would still be sitting there with my relatively rational, calm, objective state of mind thinking this is probably just a hallucination. And I'll have to sort of interact with the hallucination to see whether I can get anything useful from it or from the experience. But it doesn't mean to say that I believe that the Archangel Gabriel come down to say hello to me. But just because he was bored and God didn't want to have a cup of tea with him that night or whatever, you know, just it would be daft for me to do that. Yes, I have had experiences of the presence of angels. I have had experiences of the presence of demons. I have had experiences of the presence of guides. I have had all these experiences. I have done spiritual healing on people, and they have reported back to me that there was heat and lightning coming out of my hands because they could feel this stuff. So there's a lot of weird things which just do happen in the world. But we've got to be able to filter through that which is useful information and useful experiences with that which is useless experiences. And I would say that what I do believe in is my methodology, the way I'm thinking, to be able to analyse that. Whereas lots of other people would just have a tripped out experience and say, oh man, I've reached Godhead. Or, you know, I'm a very highly evolved spiritual being, despite the fact that my job happens to be to push trolleys in a supermarket, you know what I mean? So, do try and be a little more structured and a little more rational when you're approaching someone like me. Do try and be a little more objective when you're approaching someone like me. And if you do get involved with the occult and the supernatural, which I would encourage you to do, because basically, it's a laugh. Alright, it's good fun, it's stimulating, and you can, if you can think, you can find more things out about yourself. If you can't think, you're going to start believing you've reached Godhead and you're the most highly evolved spiritual person in the world, or you'll get terrified of the presence of there being terrible evil demons behind your bookcase. You know who you are, okay? But, chill, have fun. And no, I'm not one of those peculiar people, whatever that particular phrase means this week, alright? Be rational, but have fun.